Hey YouTube, Calgunandprep here, and today I'm going to show you how to replace your upper receiver without having to tear your whole barrel apart. Alright guys, so I was at SHOT Show and I came home with this. So I saw my buddies over at Digital's AR Products stop by their booth, and they had a whole litany of colors: blue, purple, green, gold, and of course red. And so I came home with this guy, and I mean, this thing's just really cool. This is really awesome. The color's really nice on it. All right, the anodizing is really good. But you know, I was thinking about, okay, where am I going to put this? And I don't really have a build going on at the moment. So I decided I'm going to take my 6.5 Grendel upper. Maybe you remember this from our video on the tracked optic scope. And I'm going to replace the black upper with the red upper. And I figured, you know what, since I'm going to be doing that, I may as well do a video for you guys, just in case you decide you want to go and get a colored upper and replace one of your AR uppers. Now, the process I'm going to show you is for an AR-15, but if you're doing this on an AR-10, you know, it's the exact same process, so you can follow along. For time's sake, I did go ahead and start stripping out the screws on my handguard, just because everybody's handguard is different, and the process that I have to go through to get this handguard off is probably not the same process that you have to go through to get yours off. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up. But you know, the thing I want to point out here is obviously that you do need to take your handguard off. Also, this process is for a free float handguard. If you've got something with like a delta ring, or you've got a fixed sight gas block, whether it's A2 or F marked, this process is not going to be identical to yours. You're going to have to do a little bit of extra work, but overall the concept's the same. All right, so once you've gotten your handguard off, if you've got a low pro gas block like I do, there's going to be 2 set screws on the underside of your gas block. You're going to want to take an Allen wrench that fits those set screws. That one does not. And you're just going to want to loosen them up. You don't want to take those set screws out all the way. You just want to loosen them up so that way you can slide that gas tube towards the end of the barrel. Now, the whole reason why I'm doing this is I do not want to take this particular muzzle brake off. If you notice, there's no wrench flats on this thing. And I didn't feel like going and spending $5 for a new crush washer either. So, you know, it was just going to be a pain in the butt if I had to strip this barrel all the way down. So again, the whole purpose of this video is how to replace the upper receiver without having to take off your muzzle brake and do all the other stuff, right? Just quick and easy, as simple as possible. All right. So now that we've got our upper assembly pretty much stripped down as far as we're going to need to get to, with the exception of the barrel net, let's talk about the tools we're going to use. So you're going to need a vise block for your upper. Now this is an AR-15 upper vise block. If you're doing this on an AR-10, it is a different vise block that you're going to need, but you will need a vise block for your upper nonetheless. Next, you're going to need a wrench. Now you'll notice right here I've got hanging a M16 armorer's wrench. That wrench will not work on this type of barrel nut, right? This type of barrel nut has some wrench flats on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a good old-fashioned crescent wrench, and I just got a 10-inch crescent wrench here, and that's what I'm going to use to pop this guy off. Your barrel nut, you know, might be different, might be, you know, smooth on the outside, and it's got some holes drilled over in here in the front. In that case, you're going to want a normal AR-15 or AR-308, depending on what you're doing, wrench. And you'll see these little studs here. You just slide that on to the barrel. The studs or the pins go into the holes, and then you can use that to tighten or loosen up your barrel nut. But Again, for this particular handguard, the barrel nut that it uses has the wrench flat, so I'm just going to use a crescent wrench. All right, enough about the tools. Let's get tearing this thing apart. And you want to make sure you get this all nice and tight, because you're going to put a lot of torque on that barrel nut to pop this off. And you want to make sure this upper stays firmly in place. All right, so again, on this one, just put your wrench, whatever it is, on the barrel nut, and then lefty-loosey. If your firearm was assembled in a factory, you may need to put a little bit extra force on it, maybe on there a little bit more closer towards the maximum end of torque spec as opposed to the lower side. But you know, these need to be torqued down. The barrel nuts on an AR-15 should be torqued down anywhere between 35 and 80 foot-pounds of torque. And again, it just kind of depends on who built it as to how much torque was actually applied to the barrel nut. All right, so once we've popped the barrel nut loose, we just unscrew it with hand, and then this thing just pops right out. And that's it. We'll take our vise block out of the vise, take the upper receiver out of the vise block, set it off to the side because we're done with it. Now we're going to take our brand new, shiny, colored, in this case red, upper receiver, and we're going to put it back into our vise block. Got it in there. What we do want to do is make sure that we've cleaned out any gunk or grime on the threads of the upper receiver. And then we're just going to secure this new upper into the vise. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some gun grease or anodized if you don't have any grease, and we're just going to coat the threads of the upper receiver here. And the reason we do this is if we don't, over time, that barrel nut will seize to the upper receiver, and then if we ever have to go take it off, well, instead of it unscrewing, it'll go snap. And bye-bye upper receiver. All right, next, after we've applied the grease to the threads on the upper, we're going to do the same thing on the barrel. Now this is a pretty clean extension, right? If it's more used, it's probably going to be nastier, dirtier. So you're going to want to clean it off before you apply new grease. But you're just going to apply a healthy coating of gun grease to the extension, like so. And it's okay if you apply too much, because it'll just kind of ooze out and then you can wipe it away. It's not a big deal. All right. So now that we've got our barrel extension nice and greased, see if I can show it to you. There is a pin on your barrel extension. It's called the index pin. It's right there. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. And what you want to do is you want this pin to go into this notch right here at the top of the upper receiver. If the pin is not in the notch, it's not correct, I'll be able to spin this barrel around. I don't want that. Right? I want that to go into the notch, and a barrel should not move. The next thing I'll do is just kind of wipe away some of this excess grease. All right. Now you'll notice this little disc right here. This is what's called a shim. If this is your first time installing a free float handguard, this may be new to you. What this does is it allows you to index the screw holes for the handguard on the side of the barrel nut correctly, so your rail on the handguard will line up with the rail on the upper. All right. So you're just going to slide your barrel nut back down until it gets to the upper, and you're going to start threading it by hand. And you're going to go all the way until it is hand tight. All right. So now that it's hand tight, I'm going to take my wrench of whichever type I need for my barrel nut, and I'm just going to torque this down. Now, with this particular type of barrel nut, I don't have crow's feet wrench ends, so I'm not able to use a torque wrench. But like I said, the torque requirement, torque spec for these things is so far. It's 35 to 80 pounds. I mean, that's a very big range. So especially with the free float type that have these side screws on the handguard, you don't want to over torque it, because then what will happen is your handguard, instead of being straight, it'll be kind of canted one way or the other, and the rails won't line up. So what you want to do is you just want to get that tight and snug. You don't want to crank down on it because, like I said, you don't want to over torque it to where then you have to take it off and start over again. So after I've tightened that down, I'm just going to slide my gas tube into the upper receiver. I'm not going to tighten down the gas block just yet because I want to make sure that I've got this barrel nut indexed correctly. So I'm just going to slide my handguard over everything. And I'm going to look at that. I'm going to see where the screws holes are, make sure they line up, and they don't. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to index this, or tighten it down, and try and get those holes to line up so the rails will. Alright, so after you've confirmed that your barrel nut is indexed correctly, so that way your rail on your handguard lines up with the rail on your upper receiver, what you do need to do then is go ahead and lock down the set screws for your gas block, and then go ahead and install your handguard. And after that, you are done. Alright guys, so there you have it. That's how you replace your upper receiver on an already built upper assembly for an AR pattern rifle. I hope you found this helpful. Please leave us a comment down below, hit the subscribe button. Go check out Digital's AR products. I got a link to their website down below. Really great prices on really high quality parts. And until next time guys, happy shooting.